Sometimes you got to get it right off the top. If we seem a little distracted, it's because we are. This is like one of the first times all year we have multi-sports going on for the first time. If you're a fan of multi-sports, it can be fun. It can be a lot, though, especially when you do DFS. That's why we're here tonight, because we're here to talk about the recap of week 7 and then propel that into week 8, because that's always what I like to do. I really do believe in that. I watch so much review footage or like content as like I think it might be some of my best like pre- preparation for the next slate. I truly believe that, and people think I'm crazy, but it's like when you get these people that have these opinions all week, and then they have to show you a lineup, or they don't have to, but most people do review lineups at this point. So when they do show you their process, and you get to see how it actually played out, it's like you can have that reaction of the visceral reaction to be like, oh, well, I don't want to think about it, design to the next week. Or you can really do a deep dive and learn from it. And that's what I try to do. And that's what I thought was missing in the market, particularly. And so that's why I love that we brought on Evan, who wasn't a huge DFS guy, wasn't entrenched and like, okay, on to the next week. He's going to pull the Bill Belichick. He has that kind of dynasty mindset. So it's like, that I just like all that perspective, and a guy that's willing to like look at the slate like go you very much the same way. I know you like study last week's performances. You don't just move on.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
always have to look back at how the week went. Like not just like the results of the games, but like
Right.
what did my process lead me to, and what were the results that I would look at for the next, and then like yeah, what the stats and stuff I looked at for my process this week. What would those tell me just based off of the Sunday games? Were those accurate enough for me to trust them?
Mm-hmm.
Or should I be looking at other stats? Or should I adjust those stats in certain ways? Oh, I'm looking at this wrong. I've had to do that. Like, I've realized that, like, certain stats can be used in other ways. Like, I see them correlating in other ways. It's like, okay, I can adapt that to my process to get better, kind of stuff. But you have to look every week and assess yourself.
Right.
Realistically, assess yourself and your process.
Right. Donnie, this is like another step in your progression too, because like you kind of watched it from afar. You watch it kind of like Evan, just enjoying building a lineup for this. But you kind of branch on your own this season. What have you kind of learned about like the way you think about a process?
Uh, honestly, I don't think it's changed at all. To be honest.
Yeah. Well, I do find it funny because some people like go right to like good lineups, right? And then they'll go to like the Millie contest and be like, "Hey, this guy won a Millie. What did he do? What can I learn?" Nothing that's right or wrong, but it's like I could give you a textbook, but if you don't know how to read, there would be no point. So it's like you got to be able to interpret the information for yourself. What did
Right.
you learn from this week specifically, Evan?
I'm kind of with Donnie on this one. I don't really think a lot has changed from what I've learned so far. And of course, like like you mentioned, being a dynasty guy, slowly learning how to do DFS with
Mm-hmm.
ensuring that you build the best lineup possible with things that I wouldn't have thought to try in regular fantasy football leagues, like correlation, bringbacks, and uh, uh, I'm sure there's a lot more that I need to learn about DFS as well, but
Right.
so it's just like any other format with fantasy football, like this lineup we're looking at here right now. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. You try to galaxy brain it, and it just flops. And what you take away from that is
The
just
Falcons suck.
not only do the Falcons suck under Arthur Smith, but
Bijan's a bitch.
It's
uh,
not his fault.
did they ever? Speaking of Bijan, did they ever figure out exactly what happened with him? I thought maybe he had been out
Wait,
too late
wait.
the night before.
I mean, I didn't get anything specific.
I sent you the quote.
They just said that he was sick today, so he's not going to play that much.
And I was
Yep.
trying to read through that.
So Evan,
Yeah.
here's what I had heard. He goes from being he's not feeling well to he's sick, and then it was he's got migraines, and then it was he has the flu, and then it was hey we don't know if this guy can handle some of the nightlife in Atlanta. And so, like, I don't know if any of that is true or a portion of it's true, but like, here's what I'll say: when there's that much smoke, there's some kind of fire somewhere.
He had to have been
Oh,
hungover.
no. But then it goes, we're going to give him one touch with 30 seconds left in the game, even though we didn't want him to have the ball the whole game.
And it was a terrible play call, too.
But I don't mind the play call. It's not great. It's not terrible, in my opinion.
They had less than a minute to go and no timeouts, and they ran the ball.
I didn't listen. I didn't think it was crazy with a young quarterback. Settled the offense down a bit. That's my personal opinion, but I get what you're saying.
I coached basketball for a number of years, and I know like sometimes our coaches would send a message to players that, like say they didn't perform well on a test, or he just didn't think you took your academics very serious. He would kind of send a message, even if you were a star player, he'd sit you out the first quarter, or he would like purposely put you in at like the worst times in the game as a bench player, even though talent-wise you'd be a starter. I wonder if Arthur was sending that kind of message, or if it really was he only had a limited amount of snaps. I don't know if we'll know the answer, but it definitely affected DFS. But to me, that's okay. Like it sucks. It happened in my lineup, but I'm telling you it's okay because you have to treat that like the variance that it is, right? Because we didn't have him in the lineup, and say we had won. Like, no, let's just say min cash. Say we min cash because we didn't have him in a lineup and the guy we passed did. Then we'd be happy. And so like you can't play this what if
Here's
game.
the thing. I won in fantasy this week playing him, and I only won by 2 points.
Right.
Bravo.
So I shouldn't have won.
But you did.
Well, here's another example I was going to bring up, and we'll get Gov in here because I'm sure he's itching to say something as well. But to this day, I would tell you that Jamison Williams was a better play than Hyatt because Jamison dropped an easy touchdown that was an underthrow, but also poorly adjusted by him in the end zone in that game. There was tons of passing in that game because it was a pass script game. And Jamison, I believe, saw 6 targets, 2 of which ended up being like deep, touchdown throws, like in the end zone touch throws. So if he comes down with any of those plays, his zero looks a lot different. But that's the type of play that he is. Like he is that he is that Deshaun Jackson, that one play, makes your weekend kind of play. And so like you can't play him thinking you're going to get a Wendell Robinson game or even the St. Brown type of game where you're going to get 10 catches. That's just not what you're going to get that kind of play. So it's not even just the player's fault. Like we talk about, sometimes you have to know the player. You have to know what you're getting into. And I know Doug wanted to fade Dion, especially early on the season, because he's being a younger player, because he's being a rookie. I mean, Donnie kind of has an opinion. You guys heard it a couple weeks ago with his quarterback opinion. So, like, as long as your reasoning makes sense, I'm okay with it. And I still think playing Dion was okay in this lineup, even though it didn't play.
No, it was a good pivot. To be honest, none of the top-end running backs paid off.
This is true.
So, like, you look at this lineup, like, yeah,
more and more
kind of failed, but yeah, more and more, it's like, this lineup kind of looks god awful.
No, but when's the last time one of these high-end running backs have?
Yeah, I'm going to switch over to running backs just so you guys can see over here on the left side of the panel. These are the highest scoring running backs.
Like
we did see
all season long, it's been like this, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, early in the season, like, most everyone was, like, mid-price. So, like, there was a lot of 6K guys going off. Like,
outside of McCaffrey.
This is, to be fair, this is, like, the first week that, like, the chalk running backs didn't hit that were, like, expensive. Like, yes, the Ken Walkers and the Josh Jacobs this week did not hit. But, like, the McCaffreys have hit pretty much every week. Kamara's hit the last 2 weeks he's been in. Like, to be fair, it's the guys like the Jamal Williams and that were chalky cheap early that were kind of shitting the bed. This is the first, like, week, well, second week, really, that like the expensive running backs are not hitting. Your Henry doesn't hit. Your Bijan doesn't hit. Ken Walker and Jacobs don't hit. McCaffrey still did.
Right, and that's why I just want to. I was
And
going
like
to.
ETN, who will be expensive, he still did. Gibbs will start like, but yeah, I do think like the mid price and lower price running backs are always better because I don't think the ceiling is there at running back anymore. Too many teams have a committee.
I mean, this was even week 6 too. So it's the one thing I'm seeing though, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, because we're almost at like that point in the season where it's like now we start to see trends. So like we'll get back to our lineup in a second, but what I'm starting to see with these running backs, if we look at it, is you want a running back that's going to catch the ball. You know, and you want somewhat of a safe receiving floor. Now, that's why I say that I think the Bijan play was still a good play if we look because he was getting a ton of receiving work for that Falcons team. Now, maybe we picked the wrong one, but I do think we should consider like Kamara's, the Gibbs type, because especially in DraftKings where it's just point per reception, it just makes so much sense.
I will say though, while it's true that you typically want a running back who's going to get enough targets in the passing game for that PPR volume, Derrick Henry in his prime didn't need that because he was such a beast on the ground, and I think now we're starting to see the twilight of Derrick Henry before he. I don't know if the Titans. I don't think they're planning on trading him, but
No, everyone on the Titans are apparently on the block. Hopkins, Henry, all of them.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, but I mean, my point being too is that there are probably not going to be that many running backs like Derrick Henry in the future with how pass happy the game is. So you take the best pass catchers and running back you can get.
Yeah. I just think when we look at like lineup builders, especially the last couple of weeks, I think we have to wait more of the receiving running backs. I think that's been a trend so far.
As a fan, I don't like it. I love these powerful running backs just gonna, dominate the league, give you 150 yards, your goal post. But it is what it is.
What's funny is I think if you watch Kamara, he's actually running between the tackles a lot more this season. He's been super efficient. I don't think people have talked enough about Kamara's.
That's fine. I just, I get it. The game's changing, and I miss a little bit. I miss the Derrick Henry prime. Adrian Peterson. I miss that.
And Alvin Kamara has always been a good runner on the ground. It's just that he's been known for catching passes more frequently that people forget he's still really good on the ground.
Yeah. I don't know. He just looks like he's been more willing to take on more contact. But, Gus, do you have anything else about this lineup, or do you want to move on to the next one? Because it wasn't a good week for us in terms of lineups, but I have no problem breaking on the press.
No, like a lot of like our favorite plays failed, and like this lineup had a lot of low ownership and nothing hit. So like next lineup up. Now this one I thought had more potential going in.
I think it does. Like if you play this lineup next week, I don't think I have a problem with it. Obviously, matchups are a bit different, but like if you just looked at the skill set of the players, I don't think we built it wrong.
No.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what was the pillar for this one?
It was one of our last lineups. I remember that because I took Michael Wilson. It was a speed run. This was speed run.
This might be a speed run lineup.
Oh yeah, because we did change it a little after the speed run. That's right. Yeah, this was a speed run because I remember Donnie, you did take Michael Wilson.
Yep, I just jammed like just give me Cup, just give me Cup, just give me Cup.
and really, Tutu Atwater, scored a touchdown in that game, and all intents and purposes, it was intended for Cooper Kupp.
No, I don't think so. I disagree.
No, dead
I saw
on.
the play.
I about to say I saw the play too. That was dead on. Like Atwell and them. Like maybe it wasn't, and it's just all these dumbass offensive coaches running these redundant routes that make it easy for DBs to pick stuff off. But I don't think Sean McVay would do that. So like, I feel like Tutu was out of position and was either supposed to be on a much shallower route, or
Yep.
somehow Cup had gotten slowed up and was supposed to be much farther along. But yeah.
That was intended for 2.
Either way, all I'm saying is like he could have easily went like Cooper Cup had 3 drops in that game, which was uncommon. So like these
And
are
for
one
him
of
to
the,
only catch 2 balls is very uncommon for him.
the only thing you could say about that play is he was expensive, so we were expecting a lot from him, and obviously he missed that mark.
There's not much else to say about this. Like, good ownership, even with we eating the Ken Walker chalk.
Yeah.
Is it kind
running
of
back
sad?
didn't even kill us. It was just like Cup killed us. Cup
Yeah.
killed all of my lineups this week. Buried by Foreman in a Cup coffin.
Is it kind of sad that this speed lineup did better than the one that we had at the bottom?
No, I just think that's kind of sometimes how it goes. That's why you try to change process.
Well,
know?
because going on the process point, like I think that's what gets in the heads of a lot of people who play fantasy football in general and DFS is that you get so obsessed with your focus, your process, and you think, okay, this is my skill. I didn't just put this lineup together in 5 minutes. I actually put thought behind it. That means I should do well. But it's still a game of luck, right?
Well, I mean,
100%.
it is to an extent, but like you also shouldn't be going in just because I put a lot of thought and have my process and built this good lineup doesn't actually mean that it's going to do well. And if you go in thinking that, you will start second guessing your process and whether or not you need to. But like if you have a good process that is backed the way like me and Logan think and back, statistically you are going to do well at some point. Like I've had a good week this year working my process. I've also had a bad week this year. Like lose everything week.
Mm-hmm.
But like that is sort of how things go. Nothing is a straight line or a straight line up. Everything is in motion. Statistically.
Well, I wanted to make that point too, because like if you look at the guy Jordan Addison's stat profile pull up, and I did it on purpose, knowing that we couldn't play him in our slate anyway, so this would be a good example. He had a really fantastic day with JJ not being in the lineup. Everyone knew the potential of him having a good day was there, and at that price point, it was a good play. Now, did you expect 123 yards? No. And to be honest, like 60 of them came off a catch and run where it could easily have been an interception. He stole it away from the DB and got that 60-yarder. The 60-yarder is probably the luck portion of Evan's argument here. But you still have to put yourself in the position. You still have to be a good route runner. You still have to, be in good physical condition to be an athlete at this level. And that's kind of like a DFS player to me too. It's like, yeah, there is some luck involved. I'm not denying that. But I do think there is a lot more game division and game theory than gives credit. But Evan, at the same point, does it really matter if I think it's like 60% luck and you think it's 70% luck? If we both agree to play the game and we have fun with it in different ways, and it brings people together and it makes you think outside the game, like however you want to enjoy this game, I think it goes underappreciated, just in general.
I think it all kind of ties in all of our points together in a nice, neat little bow because, yeah, not only is it a game of luck, but there, like what Gov just said, there's no straight line and one way to do it because there are so many freaking variables that go into playing the game. Mm-hmm. So you have to just have to like what the great Bruce Lee once said. You got to be water.
Yes.
Yeah. It really it does hydrate you, but you really do want to be fluid. You do want to, be willing to take the good with the bad, and like sometimes you're going to do that with an injury. You'll be like a third string wide receiver. You'll have a specific role, and it's like, oh, Cooper Kupp got hurt, or Deebo Samuel's hurt now. Jennings, and he's got to perform. His opponents aren't saying, well, Deebo's better than you. Like, no, there's no time for the argument. It's the next man up. And so sometimes like I know Donnie was high on like Hardman, for example, this week, and my thing with Hardman was play Hardman if you want to. Like if that makes sense for you. because that might lead you to play Mahomes. It might lead you to play Kelsey, and we haven't got to Kelsey yet, but Kelsey had almost 40 fantasy points.
Here's the thing with that card.
Yep.
Mahomes missed Hardman on a ball. Hardman got past his defender. It got open.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes threw it. It was underthrown and picked off. That justified the play to me.
Yeah.
I got what he got 3 targets. One was a bomb. It should have been a touchdown.
But Donnie, at the same time, like, that's what I was trying to tell you. As long as you're okay with him having that one home run and not getting it, then that's fine. It's Jamison Williams for me is the same way. He got 6 targets this week with 0 points, but every one of his targets was over 30 yards. So he catches one of those and houses it like he should have. It's a different play. Where if you play Wendell Robinson, it might make sense in like a cash lineup because he's going to catch 7 passes for like 70 yards. So he's probably not going to break anything. It's just you got to know the type of player you're playing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that Giants and Commanders game, but I don't know if game script was the reason why Wandale only got 2 targets when he was playing roughly the same snaps that he played the last 4 weeks, but it just turned out to be a better game for guys like Jalen Hyatt and Darren Waller.
Honestly, I think based on what I saw from that game, is Tyrod Taylor likes to throw a lot more deep balls. I don't know if it's his old age or his risk it for the biscuit.
He was definitely chucking it down middle of the field and deep. That's why Hyatt and Waller were used more. But
here's
like
the thing.
game script wise, it was 14-7. Like it was like good lord.
Yeah.
Now the Commanders were sputtering the whole time. Like I think Curtis Samuel got hurt and was in and out. Like I don't think McLaurin had anything until the 4th quarter. So like somehow the Giants defense came to play, or maybe it's because Sam Howell is a sack machine.
That sounds kind of ominous and dirty, but we'll just leave it at that.
Now, I don't remember, maybe Gov remembers what line it was that we built where I had put Foreman in. I thought it was my pick. It was ended up being Donnie's pick. We were debating Foreman, Elliott, all these guys.
Yeah, it was close.
And of course, like you could easily go back and say, like, oh, I wish we would have kept Foreman in there. But we also put Brian Hoyer in that lineup too. So, like.
But Elliott played one of his best games this season. Wow.
Yeah, Elliott scored a touchdown. So I was gonna say, like, you can't say that was a bad play for the praise. And I just think we look, like we said at the beginning, Gov, we look at results too much. We're like, hey, did this play work? Well, does it have a flame or is it a snowflake? And that's the wrong way to look at it. I will say that Hoyer lineup, though, if you could find that one, that should have cashed had we had probably any other starting quarterback.
If you had Tyler Badger instead.
I know we were limited.
That lineup's cashes if we just don't play Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
If we play a different pay-up, an Amon-Ra, like something.
Yeah.
Like Adams as a pay-up did not pay off. Watson, I thought he would have a good game against Denver. Apparently not. Outside of that, this lineup actually did fine.
Yeah.
You know what my only regret was this week?
Not was only 2 points off the cash line, too.
My biggest
regret would have been a
this
third
week,
straight week one of our lineups cashed.
What was your biggest regret, Donnie?
I know it seems stupid, but playing Kelsey on National Tight End Day makes sense. He is one of those guys where that motivates him.
I mean, like, honestly, like, Logan, if you put up the tight ends on DK Live, like, all the tight ends had amazing weeks.
No, it motivates tight end.
You're not going to have a week where, like, every tight end has freaking 20 points a game.
I don't care what you say. This is a big deal to a lot of players in the NFL. National Tight End Day, tight ends want to cook.
I think you're right, Donnie. I think I've seen it for the last 3 years. I really believe it is.
They want to compete against each other. It's not just like, oh, it's National Tight End Day, haha. No, they want to prove they're the best tight end in the league.
We always talk about it too, like translating the results over to next week. one thing happened big this week in terms of tight ends. I got to get it up before I forget. Zach Ertz got hurt. He's on the IR
Yes.
after this game, after this week. McBride is under 3K this week. I think he has to be in consideration. Want to say that just for the early birds that get the worm. If you're building a lineup, consider him. He's under 3K. He should get the lion's share of the usage there.
And just to remind the audience at home very quickly, this was the pillar we did where we picked nobody that was averaging over 20 fantasy points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Which made sense for Kelsey because he was at something like 18 and change.
Which, to your point, Evan's not saying, hey, build a bad lineup because they haven't scored 20. You're essentially saying in a cutesy, like dressed up way, hey, let's build a very balanced lineup.
That's basically what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a low floor, low floor, base ceiling, but Kelsey obviously had a really high ceiling. Adams has a super high ceiling, so I don't know.
And that's going to happen with some of the balanced builds, though, I think, because, like, I know there's one guy who thinks he thinks you should play the good medium players at all times because they're on the teetering of a breakout game. He's like, no one ever thinks of that. They always look at the 3K guys, you know, like what 3K guy can explode for me and get me 15 or 20. But he's like, the guys I want is I'd rather have 2 or 3 of the guys that are on the brink. Because the difference between them getting 19 and 25 or 35 is probably a lot closer than your guy going from 0 to 15 in 1 week. Now,
I'm going to have to go back and look. Which one was the Opto lineup that we built? Where we each picked a guy, I ran the Opto around it, and then we each made a switch that we agreed on.
That had to be our Evans lineup because I think I put Evans in the lineup.
I feel like it was, yeah.
Well, I was gonna.
And this one doesn't to be honest. This is the chalky one that I feel like it could have been.
Yeah,
but I think you're right on the Evans one because it still had Ford, it still had Lockett.
And Donnie says, "Well, that's your play. Why didn't you change it?" I thought about changing it. In fact, I did change it on FanDuel where Henderson was available. He wasn't available, and the rules are. If it's your play, you can change it, but I didn't want to change any of your guys' pick without talking to you. It was a bit up against the clock, and I didn't see anyone else that could have really fit in. There was no extra salary. So that's why I didn't make any of the changes, just so people are aware.
Yeah, but this, I can't believe it was the Hoyer lineup that did the best.
I can.
I mean, I
can't believe Hoyer did so bad.
Well, let's talk about that.
I can. It's Brian fucking Hoyer.
Well, let's talk about that because we do have a case where we're going to get a really cheap quarterback, most likely. It looks very likely that Ryan Tannehill is going to be sat down this week. So it's either going to be the rookie Will Levis, a gunslinger, a Brett Favre, a Matthew Stafford light player, a guy who's just going to risk it for the biscuit type, or you're going to get a running quarterback and Malik Willis, both under 5K this week.
Yeah.
I think they're both very good plays, especially when you consider you can stack it with a Henry that's under 8K, or you can stack it with a Hopkins that is under, he's 5,000. So you can get your quarterback to wide receiver stack for very cheap and then build a lineup very similar to this.
Even against the Falcons, I don't think I want to trust any Titans anymore outside of Derrick Henry.
I know, but look how close this Hoyer lineup came to scoring, and he only put up 3 points.
Speaking of that lineup, though, I'm kind of curious if we had picked Tyson Bagent and then replaced Devontae Adams with DJ Moore. How much better would that have done?
I mean, Bagent and Hoyer were close in price,
Yeah.
So you would have had about 1,800, I think, to play with. And you already would have gotten more points. So now 1,800, you could have put that on Christian Watson and played again. You could have done Watson Adams and turned that into DJ Moore and then one of the other pay-ups, whether it was St. Brown or Diggs or anything like that.
Right. I mean, I haven't done the math, but we could also go the other way where we play the good quarterback in Beijing, but then we play an expensive wide receiver that fails too. So like just because you have the money doesn't mean we would have made the right decision. To be fair, but I do think it's a good thought exercise.
Yeah. And I mean, if we had done that swap, that probably would have defeated the purpose of my pillar, which is to avoid those over 20 fantasy point per game average people.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like what we're doing now, where we're just having we're taking our three ideas, we're taking our three, discussion points and kind of melding them together. I would almost wonder if that would be a good way to build a lineup next week, where so basically we nominate players and then we're like, which one's the best, So like maybe you nominate a quarterback, I nominate a quarterback, and then we decide and so instead of drafting, we just nominate players until we decide which one's the better of the options, because I do think we might be able to build a better lineup. Either way, what I will say is you can look at these lineups and you can see threads of Donnie, you can see threads of Evan, of me in these lineups, and I think we're building really good lineups as a collective, though, because these lineups are close. I think it was you, right? Got the hit on it. You were very close to cashing in almost all your lineups this week.
No, I got completely cleaned out this week. I had one lineup that was a Mahomes stack that actually cashed, but I got completely cleaned out this week. No.
All my lineups, all my personal lineups, literally, I think finished the farthest one from the cash line was 2 points this week. The closest one was like 0.16.
This lineup we're looking at right now, wasn't that also 2 points away?
Yeah, our best lineup was only about 2 points. Let me see exactly how much.
Well, I want to bring in either Donnie or Evan.
134 was the cash line. 132 is what we had.
Dang.
I would love to get your opinion on this, Evan, being that you're not like a hardened fantasy guy and more of a real life fantasy guy, especially when I met, or real life football guy, especially when I first met you. I was watching Red Zone, and they said historically that up until this point, we are like, I want to say he was saying a couple 100 points behind our average last year, and has went down almost every year or every week at the start of this year. So like we are way below the median. Do you think that changes? Do you think that this is like the new version of the NFL, like Donnie kind of hit on? Maybe this is just the new NFL, and we have to.
You kind of faded out there, Logan. I didn't hear the rest of that question.
Oh, I'll ask it again. Let me just test my stuff real fast. What I was saying, though, is the scoring has been down historically this year, and it keeps getting lower and lower for the most part, pretty much every week, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Scott Hansen in the Red Zone was saying, like, we're 300 points down from where we were last year.
Hmm.
And maybe that's just like, the way the matches went so far this season or what have you. What would you attribute that to? Do you think that changes, or do you think, like, as fantasy guys, even as dynasty or a season line, you have to like adjust your priors because this season just isn't what you're used to?
Call me crazy for this take, but I think this kind of correlates with a couple of things. One, running back by committee, because you don't have that stud bell cow running back anymore like an Emmitt Smith or a Walter Payton or a Jerome Bettis, somebody who's going to take something like 90 to 100% of the carries that will absolutely help push the ball more. Teams used to run the ball more in older days compared to now, where they're throwing the ball a lot more, and defenses are going to react accordingly with interceptions and 3 and outs, where it's only no wonder why the scoring is going down, because more risks through the air are being taken. And I think that also correlates with owners getting cheap with players too, but that's another story.
Well, you brought up a good point and didn't even finish the point I thought you were going to make, Evan, and that's that we're seeing a lot less workhorses, which means, like, if we take a Christian McCaffrey and he's not a workhorse, like, he could have a good day and he just doesn't get the usage or the volume he needs to have to pay off that price tag. So that's happening too.
Yeah, and I mean Christian McCaffrey basically is being used like a workhorse. It's just that with today's game, you've got change of pace backs that will at least help make sure that his oblique doesn't hurt worse than it needs to be.
Right, and that's it. That's why I made that example because it was the closest thing to a workhorse that we have, and even his price is so high that like you're like, well, is he going to get the workload? Because like, and you would have never thought that about Adrian Peterson, in the '90s, like it just wasn't a question.
Hmm.
Uh, Gov, what do you equate this low scoring to? Do you think it's just like you could be honest? Is it fantasy guys just bitching and moaning and complaining because they're not getting like the cool fire emojis on their screens?
I mean, it's partially that. Like, it's definitely more pronounced only because people are looking at scoring for fantasy and gambling reasons more prevalently than that. But like, really, this started a couple of years ago. Like, when you don't let people practice as much in the off season, when you don't let them physically practice as much in the off season, and when you take away a preseason game, the teams are sloppy. They can get hurt more easily. So what do you see? Early season injuries, bad offense early.
I didn't think of it that way.
By the end of the year, you will see some really crisp offenses, and when you get to the playoffs, you know will be the best teams. But less physical practices, less amount of practices, less preseason games to evaluate and actually do your walkthroughs. Like, it's causing offenses to not be in sync early in the season.
Well, and here's the thing that is weird about it, because September is supposed to be the month where offenses dominate the NFL. This is where offense is supposed to be.
Historically, that's what it was, because teams were prepared. So the teams that were good, they had practiced their stuff. They're going to come out first 4 weeks, run their offense to the most efficient.
I mean, the Chiefs were never sloppy, ever, in September.
But you are not. But the last 2 to 3 years since the pandemic, they have lessened the amount of time that these guys can practice, can be at the facility, can actually be doing football activities. They took away the preseason game.
Yep, I agree, and I think it was a mistake.
All of this was practice to make teams better. The good teams got really good by doing that. And then you would come out early in the year and everyone would have their offense and they'd go. But then by week 3 or 4, the defenses would have adjusted, and then only the good teams would keep their offense clicking. Now, you need to get to week 3 just to see who's actually clicking.
Yeah.
And it's very, very easy to overreact.
And then honestly, this is probably the first. Last week and this week are the first week, and you started to see it with all these little upsets from last week. This is the first week teams are really making big adjustments to teams coming in. You know what that team wants to do and how they've been efficient doing it. That's how we stop them. That's where we attack them.
But what irritates me,
of the season, you couldn't tell that.
The bad offenses were so bad to start off this year, it's almost not watchable. Because nobody's prepared.
Right. But the problem is, it's not even, how do I put this? It's not even because the defenses are good. Because it's not like defenders making big plays. The offenses are just inefficient.
The defenses were not,
it's not with this lower
they're
scoring.
already behind. They're supposed to be behind at this point in the year.
I was about to say, it's not like with this lower scoring we're seeing an increase in turnovers. No, we're seeing an increase in punts.
See, can we do it? We got to try to do this week, I think, for our lineup, where we have the pillar idea, and then we just open it up to the floor and have this kind of conversation. Because I do think this is one of our best review shows, because we reviewed things, we gave people what happened, but then we started talking about how it actually affects going forward, what it actually did then. I think this has been one of our best review shows, to be quite frank.
I know it's going to get worse, and that's what he did.
Well,
I'll tell you this, Logan. I'd like to at least do some more reading on the topic, though, because I didn't even think of it that way. Whereas, it was like I was saying earlier, with more risks through the air, it's probably correlated to more punts.
Right, and if you don't have time to practice those deep shot throws and get your timing down, like they're not going to be as efficient.
Well, and also like take this week for example. I think a lot of people do this in reviews where they'll like look at the top score, who won the million, and be like, well, what did he do? Did he play Travis Kelce or did he play Dallas Goedert? And then they'll and then you'll see ownership reflected and things like that, or even with like a 1-for-1, even with the tight end, you'll say like, oh, who do you think is going to have a better year, Dallas Goedert or TJ? But it's like so much of DFS, especially, it's called daily fantasy, is like week to week. It's matchup based. So like just because Travis Kelce has 38 points doesn't mean that Travis Kelce is like an every week starter at tight end. Is he good? Yes, but you probably should have known that already as a fantasy player. And it sounds silly to say like, yeah, Travis Kelce's good, but you'd be surprised how many people, including myself, I do think it's one of my weaknesses. Sometimes I take myself out of the good play because it's so obvious. Because it's so fun to be like, I want to find the one guy that nobody else has played. And it is fun. And sometimes you're right. Sometimes you are a mad scientist. You find that Hardman, or you find the tight end. Like a couple years ago, I won big, or like one of my biggest wins in DFS because I played Marvin Jones the week he played against the Vikings and had 3 touchdowns. Like he was like $4,000. So like that's the thing too. It's like when you play these GPPs, you're not expecting to win every week, and that's the truth. And not enough people talk about that. It's like GPPs are meant to be like a big celebration. So like when you're right, you're really right, but you're not supposed to be right every week.
And now look at Marvin Jones. Whatever his personal matter was with family, he's just got to get out of football, and who knows if he'll ever come back.
Yeah, and from what I can tell, is him and Campbell always had a good relationship. I was kind of surprised he didn't go to Los Angeles because like family and camaraderie has always been big for him. Like he started in Cincinnati with a terribly ran Bengals organization, and he was saying how they like mistreated him. And he never wanted to go to an organization that mistreated him again. He went back to the Lions twice. He had made friends with Matthew Stafford, and like so when he says he had to step away for personal reasons, I know he's a personal guy, so it must have really been personal, whatever it was.
Yeah, to the point the Lions were willing to eat over $2 million in dead cap.
Yeah. But see, that's the stuff that Campbell doesn't get credit for, and I think he does it on purpose. He comes off as a meathead on purpose, so he can almost trick you into thinking he's not paying attention to analytics and stuff like that. And any takeaways from this week that we could definitely apply for next week? I mentioned Zach Ertz. That was a big one for me. Just whenever you see a primetime performer for years go down in IR, obviously saw a dip in his production already, and the young McBride looks like he was ready. Now McBride's going to be the main guy at under 3K. I think that's something we should pay attention to.
Oh, is he going to be that price guaranteed?
Yeah, he's up right.
Prices are out?
Yeah.
They always bring prices out on Monday.
Can we see the prices just for the sake of it?
Sure.
Well,
Sure,
we do need to review the spread after this, by the way, just so we don't.
Oh yeah, review the spread, and then I'll pull up Rainmakers for the week once we're done with that.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, you can go over and make it. I'll put a DK first look.
Because tight ends this week are going to be interesting in prices, because it's going to be Kincaid and McBride that are probably going to be the two.
Yes, that was the other tight end news that I wanted to hit on. Thank you.
Yes.
I think that's huge. Knox being out for probably the year. It wasn't the year. I know he's out for a while.
Yeah, unknown if he's going to be able to come back this season.
It's likely Knox is out for the year. Likely, they said. And usually, if it's not that likely, you wouldn't react to it so quickly.
Yeah, the fact that he's going to need wrist surgery is probably a really bad sign.
You wouldn't.
I don't think. Well, I think 3 months is possible. I don't know what they're touching up. It could be a touch-up, like small surgery type thing.
Well,
but if it's a complete tear and it's ugly.
Either way, Donnie, like we say, we play daily fantasy. The one thing we know is week to week, at least until he gets back, we're going to be playing a lot of Dalton Kincaid probably.
So Trey McBride is only 2,800.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's going to be the main play. Yeah, Yeah.
Here's what it's looking like chalky right now, based on what everyone their initial thought.
Oh, can we see Kincaid too?
I haven't actually looked at it.
Just do double tight end. Throw that.
I don't know why I pulled D. I thought it was under tight end.
No,
Hold on.
it's just look up Kincaid.
I thought I had. Did I spell it wrong?
KIN.
I don't. You looked up DAL. Not. Wait, where's Dalton Kincaid?
Oh no, he plays.
Is he not on this lane?
No,
plays
Buffalo's
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
They are the
Okay.
Thursday night game. That makes sense.
I was like, I'm not spelling Dalton wrong. I don't think, but okay, that makes a lot more sense. But I do think it's a double tight end kind of weak, maybe. You know, you pair that with a cheap guy. You pair that with a Kelsey, maybe, or an Andrews. I know people are going to say like this bring back is going to be cheap, so they'll be like, I can fit in Lamar. But I'm telling you, the Tennessee options there too. Hopkins only being 5K if we get a quarterback switch. I will say if Willett is the starter, he loves it tight end Okongwu, so you could consider that as well. He's
Well.
only 3K.
I mean, if it's Malik Willis, I'd be worried about how many sacks he's going to take from the Falcons too, because Willis took 4 sacks from Baltimore on only 33% of the snaps. That's a lot.
Well, I'm not even saying you should play on. I'm just saying like that price you have to consider it. Like Will Levis is 4,400. That's just as cheap as Brian Hoyer, and I think the upside for passing yards is way higher with a rookie than it would
Yeah.
be a 16-year veteran.
We'll have to come back to that on Saturday for sure.
So I think that's it for me. Was there anything else you guys want to hit on? Well, we got to do the spread.
Spread picks, yeah.
But anything else before we get there?
Let's pull up that spreadsheet.
Actually, yeah, do the spread picks, and then we do Rainmakers.
Gov, can you pull that up? Do you need the link again?
Yeah, I was about to say, I've got other stuff pulled up. Can someone else grab it real quick? I'm honestly, like, basketball in the background, my other lineups, I'm getting my sheet ready for tomorrow. I kind of have a lot of stuff going on in the background, and it's slowing my computer down.
I can pull it up. I can definitely pull it up.
So, yeah.
I don't think you sent it to me in a DM. You sent it to me in the Discord.
I sent it in Discord, yep.
I think I got it now. And we talk too much sometimes, but I got it.
Isn't that a good thing?
It is a good thing until you're on live TV and you want to perform.
Yeah, let's make the audience just listen to dead air for the next minute or so.
Oh, I'm pretty good about not doing that at least. As
Yeah.
much as I can help it.
Yeah.
So,
We're a professional show, we promise.
well, no, not yet. we don't get paid enough yet for that. Maybe
Yeah.
one of these days.
Speaking of not being professional, I didn't upgrade the group part, technically speaking yet.
Let me see if I can also enlarge.
Ready to see my magic? Boom. There we go. Now it's fixed. Alright. On the group spread picks, we had the 49ers at -6.5. Yeah. They did it again, didn't they, boys?
Mm-hmm. Why?
2-5.
Why 49ers? Why?
Hey, I want a good amount of money on that Monday Night Showdown in my prop bet that I'm going to carry over for Saturday for our lineup builder. So tune into that show because we should have some extra lineups to build, by the way. So it should be fun.
Going over to Logan, he had Chargers +5, Browns -1.5, both wrong, putting 3-11. Gov finishes his. Was it 0-2, Gov?
Yeah, no, it was a bad week.
Yeah.
0-2. With Dolphins +3, Packers -1, putting him at 7-7. I am the only one with a single win week. With Chiefs -5, Rams 3, putting me at tie at 7. Slowly, one day I'll top. And Evan got both wrong for the first time of the season. He doesn't go 1-1. Good job, Evan.
It was bound to happen at some point. I guess I just have to take it.
Yeah, just one on the wrong side. Raiders
Can't all
minus
be
2.
perfectly even all the fucking time.
Yeah, but it was a good streak while it lasted, but I had to come back to earth.
Hey man,
Well-
if I'm going to catch up, I got to start swinging for home runs anyway. So I might as well keep playing the same way I'm playing. Just hopefully maybe I can reel off 6.
You gotta swing for 2 wins. You gotta swing for safety, not home runs.
And Logan, you got to stop believing in the Chargers. Come on now.
Yeah. It's hard for me because I'm
Hey,
so down with
Hey, we can't say that because we did it as a group twice.
that. Well,
Did we not learn?
I am pretty conflicted to my priors. I'll tell you that. Like when I believe in something, I tend to overbelieve there's nothing else. But
Yeah.
that's it for me though. Talent. When I see talent, it's hard for me to walk away.
The talent's there. They shouldn't be this bad.
No, but I will say I heard a good argument this week. Is we have made too many excuses for Herbert being bad, even though he's talented. We've made too many excuses for him being just not playing good this year, and we've also excused.
He hasn't played bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, Herbert has not just been bad. He's just been above average.
But,
Yeah, he hasn't been great.
but that's what I'm saying is people want him to be so great that like we kind of grade him on that curve, but then we don't give Tua credit for actually as good as he's played. That credit goes all the hill.
I agree.
So we do have a blinder to some of that stuff.
And we know the Chargers have a good out.
Right. So I'm just saying we'll have to see how it plays out this season. Do we want to get on to Rainmakers?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yep, this is the first week we actually get to make 2 lineups after our win.
Yeah,
We had $3 last week, so like we can go to the marketplace if we need to, but we know we have that to work with.
Well, I found that too to be true, Gubbies. Like we can go from winning 0 to winning 3 pretty easily. Like when you have a good lineup in Rainmakers, it climbs faster than most lineups.
We knew Pickens was a good. We were iffy on the ticket.
I think it could be a lot better with Johnson. I think Gov made that point even off screen at one point that he thinks that Johnson was going to open up Pickett a lot more this season. And I think that's true. Having those 2 guys in tandem could be a good thing for Pickett.
Pickens had his best game this year, dude.
Yeah. He's been consistent. He's been kind of like the Kenny Walker of quarterbacks. He's been around 15 points every week. Just nothing great, nothing too bad, just even keel. But let's build some of these lineups that Gov has on screen here.
Okay, so like our 2 quarterbacks are Lawrence and Pickett. They play each other this week. So which one do we want as our main lineup in the single entry?
Tila.
I think Lawrence.
Yeah, I think he'd be safer.
Obviously, we have to go Lawrence Ingram here, right?
We do.
Yes.
It's the only Jacksonville player we have to correlate. We only have 1 running back. That's King Henry, so he'll be in our main lineup.
I think we're outplaying the sexier of the quarterback options. So this is where we would get crazy. We would go with correlation. We would go to Van Jefferson, who did finally see some work in his new offense.
See, honestly, like here's the thing: we don't have to build 2 lineups if we don't want to. And to be fair, the strongest lineup we could build would be to put the Pickens in this lineup as correlation
It would be.
in
You're
that
probably-
game. And then one-offing either our Sutton or our Tony and not worrying about a Van Jefferson who legitimately could get a 0.
And what we could do then is save the $3, hope we win with 1 lineup, and then we could build a really good second lineup, maybe with $6 or $10.
Right, because we're really missing a running back to be able to build a good second lineup.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, we have enough wide receiver
I
depth
know
where we
that
could
he's
build
good
to.
enough
We
for
have
that.
the quarterbacks to build to. But we only really have Henry. And like I have a few running backs that are available, but like, do you want to use my backup McKinnons and Eli Mitchells?
Let's build our strongest possible lineup and look.
Yeah, I think
That's the strongest possible lineup we can build. A T-Law, Ingram, bring it back with Pickens, and then a
Denver is a good
Derrick
matchup
Henry and a
too.
one-off Cortland Sutton against Kansas City.
Yeah,
I-
that's the thing.
Yeah,
With
I like
no
it.
Nick
The only
Bolton,
cards we have
so
other than
Slant
that
will be
are
there.
Tony and Mingo
Yeah.
would be the other wide receivers we could throw in place of stuff.
I like
Which
this
I-
off the bat.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
hate it
happy
either. I
with
like
this. Can we look at the running back market? Update everybody on how much we technically have in our bankroll.
We have $3 in the bankroll after our win this week. Yes.
Wasn't there a little extra though left over? Or am I wrong?
No, we had basically been
No, we
right
spent
at
that.
the 35 mark. We had spent it up, but like $3
Yeah.
is still something. Putting it on screen.
Yeah, the
Like
change
for
went
the
to
top guys, $8 or $9.
I
$3
think-
could almost get a Barkley.
I think Gibbs was $4. I saw.
Brian Robinson Jr. $250.
Yeah, that's gross.
Compared to other running backs, that's not terrible, but
Nixon's
that's
a
not
little
terrible.
higher than $3. Madison is less than $3.
Mm.
Ramondre is less than $3.
It looks like Cam Akers took over that job. Goes,
did he?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
see
it-
that. No.
It looks like they're really trying to look for.
I mean, they definitely are using Cam Akers.
I'm saying
Like
Cam
Madison
Akers
is still the
gave
main.
me
It just looks like that's going to be a 60-40 split instead of like the 70-30, 80-20 it's been with any other running back this year.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think
David Pierce for a
Akers
buck
will be
50
this-
is probably a good like stash if Houston gets better or starts running the ball a little bit.
I don't know.
Javante for only a buck 50. Like there are some Najee for a buck 50.
Spears. if
I
you
don't
think
want
he's
another
really
Pittsburgh
good.
guy.
Cam Akers 90 cents.
Ha!
He did get almost 40.
Like so there are okay, like there are at least starting running backs that you can
I
grab
would
for less than
like-
$2.
Thing is, the issue is
So like
20 for that
you
makes
broke
so
up
much.
there. What'd you say?
The 20 cents for a mix, you know,
No, I don't know, Donnie. Sorry, you're cutting it up, man.
Yeah, I keep hearing 20 cents for something.
for mix. Is he 320?
For Joe Mixon, 320 for Joe Mixon.
Yeah, mix in for like what was it? 324, yeah.
Like I said, I think Gibbs is.
Like I said,
420.
there's at least decent like running backs around the $3 range. So like I'm with Logan. I think maybe we wait the week or like look and see if there's something big. Like
Because I think in that $5 range, Joe, that, you know, a $5 to $7.
yeah, if you can get to
range is-
6, now you can get some Pachecos, you can get some Swifts, you can get
which already correlate with our Tony. You know, then we just have to-
Bijan, Brees Hall's only like 7.
But we
Like-
will not have a superstar at a halfway. We won't.
Well, to be honest, like I play a lot of lineups without a superstar. So like
I know. I'm
it's
just saying.
not like ideally like the key is in Rainmakers here after this week they flip who the superstars are.
I would ask how much is Henry going for, and just if maybe want to take.
Henry's right now only go for about looks like $5. Let me see.
Yeah, and we bought it for 10.
I think we want to break.
We bought him for like 8 or 9. Like he's gone down. Like
Yeah, and I don't think he'll go back.
no, unless he has like a bit like he might go back up end of the year when he plays Houston twice and has a big game.
Or if you got
If
30
he plays
to a good
Houston.
team. Well, that being said, though, I think we're pretty much ready. I was going to watch some more basketball. I was going to bid the guys to do, unless we have anything else to talk about.
Nope, I think that's it.
I do not.
We'll see you Saturday.
I'll be here.
Yep.
Good night.
Peace out.